Welcome back to another episode of The Real Deal, where we get you to scrub your brain and open it a little bit to reality and the truth. So here we go. So I know y'all probably heard about this with the UFC heavyweight Josh Hokett the other night. When he was at the White House and they had the big event there, and he said Michelle Obama is a man. And the funny thing is, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people got upset about that. And a lot of people were laughing. A lot of people were joking because that speculation's been around for a long, long time. And there were people going off. And I saw these people that were on the far left saying, how dare he be mean like that? You don't talk about a former first lady like that. And I pointed out to them, wait a minute. Didn't you call Melania Trump a whore? Well, that's different. She posed nude. I'm like, I don't believe you. Send me the pictures. They did. I printed them. No, man, just kidding. But anyway, you can find them on the internet. They're all over the place. She was young. She was beautiful. What's the big deal? Her body, her choice. Wait a minute. That'd be a great thing for if somebody wanted an abortion. My body, my choice. Wouldn't it? Oh, it only applies to certain people. Okay, I get it. But anyway, so everybody was upset. People were crying and whining. And it's like I said, you guys bash Melania. She's a sweetheart. She does a good job. She cares about the poor. She does a lot of things for poor people and stuff, and she should. And she stays out of the limelight, unlike a lot of these people who got to get out there and let everybody know they're there because they're probably insecure or something. But she's, raised her son, did a great job with him. He's got an energy drink out now. I don't do energy drinks, but I've heard it's pretty good. So if you're into that, man, check out his stuff. Go online and look it up. Barron's cool. I got no problem with Barron. I know people have a problem with him because he's Trump's son. And it's like, it's the biggest problem with people in America. I realize the Trump derangement syndrome, the TDS, is a real thing. I see it every day. I saw somebody talking online about the Postal Service, and I was blown away. They were talking about something that happened with the Postal Service. They caught these people doing some theft, and they threw them in prison. Okay, I saw it on Facebook. I was like, good, I'm glad they caught these people. And somebody said, well, this never would have happened if Trump didn't appoint DeJoy, the Postmaster General, former Postmaster General. And I'm like, are you an idiot? What the heck does Trump have to do with it? What does DeJoy have to do with it? They caught somebody. What happened was they stole a bunch of stuff. Then they caught these other guys that set the San Jose, California post office on fire. I'm glad they caught him. It was in his postal inspector's page. But somebody has to bring Trump into it. They got to bring Trump into everything. I don't get it. I'm like, oh, I like your puppy dog. Well, my puppy dog's cute, but Trump wouldn't like him. What the heck's that got to do with anything? That's how random and obscure people are, man. They're like the New York Knicks. They won the championship. Well, they lost that game. Trump was that. Oh, that's why they lost, because Trump was there. Yeah, that's what it was all about. Man, some messed up people. I always ask them, I'm like, do you think of him when you're making love to your wife? Because you're obviously very obsessed with him. Do you put orange makeup on and stuff? They're always like, Orange Man is bad. Okay. How do you know he doesn't? I know he doesn't, but how do you know he doesn't have a disease that causes that orangeness? What if he did? What if he had something that was wrong with him that made his face look orange? Would you still make fun of him? Of course they would. Of course they would. What if his son had Down syndrome? Oh, they'd be making fun of him. Not other kids like that, but they would. And that's how they are. And that's how a lot of people on the left are. They are some of the biggest, most prejudiced hypocrites and ignorant fools I've ever met in my life. And I've never seen it this bad. It's horrible. It's horrible. I see all the lies. I see all the attacking, all the violence. It's like, wow, dude. But it's the right wing, the right wing did it. No, the Democrat Party. Remember Democrats, right? The party of the Klan. The party that kept women down. No, women don't need to vote. The party that even when the slaves were free came up with things to keep them down. That party hasn't changed, people. What they have done is they brought a few minorities in to tokenize it, basically, to get minority votes. LBJ said back in the day when he signed the Civil Rights Act, he said, and this is on tape, they caught it, you get me elected, and I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Because they don't care. They don't care about black folks, man. So here's the deal. This guy calls Michelle Obama a man. And all of a sudden, instead of people going, oh, that's not cool, and staying out of the limelight, all of a sudden she's in the limelight. She's like, oh, this, that. She's appearing here, there, and everywhere, giving interviews. I just saw an article, I think it was the New York Post, wrote about how she saved a friend's life by stopping him from choking. And I'm like, do you know how many people every day save lives? I mean, they're not doctors. Random people in restaurants, random mail carriers, Amazon delivery people. They see people. They see them hurting. They save lives every single day. What makes her so great? You should have heard some of the things I said. I'll tell you, that guy, they said he was choking. What was he choking on, if you know what I'm saying, people? Come on now. Now, there has been so much speculation about her being a man since the beginning, since before he ran for president. This was nothing new. Michelle, she's been accused of that for years. They've always said it. There are no pictures of her pregnant, and the kids look just like this other family. I've seen the family. I can't remember their name off the top of my head right now, and they look just like them. And there's no baby pictures of the kids, you know what I mean, of her breastfeeding or holding them or anything like that. There's been, and of course, Google and other media outlets will tell you this isn't true. There's been pictures of her dancing and stuff, and you can see a little something dangling in there. You know, there's a little bulge down there. That's fake. That's AI. Sure it is. AI did not have that capability like it does now when this was made. She was dancing on the Oprah show. That was a long time ago. Yeah, there was something there, man. I don't know what it was, unless she was wearing the tampon on the outside, and it looked like a pretty good-sized tampon. But there's always been that speculation. So here's the deal. Prove it. No, don't. I don't want to see it. Yuck. But then you see Barry, his whole life, he's been riddled with accusations of being gay. There's been so many people that have come out and talked about having gay relationships with him back in the day. So does this surprise me at all? Not at all. Not at all. He's has said a lot of creepy things before, too. Like, you need a good gay man to raise your kids. And I'm like, how about just a good man, a good woman, a good person? You know? It doesn't have to be about sexuality. But they make it that way. And you ever watch how he sits with his legs crossed? Like, yuck. That hurts. Just the thought of crossing my legs like that hurts me. Unless he's not working with much there. But anyway, he's had lots of people come out and talk to him, talk to the media about it, that he was gay. Now, it was mid-2000s, I believe. There was a guy named Larry St. Clair. He came out, he published a book about it, said that him and Barack Obama were doing drugs and had sexual encounters in a limousine. But this was like back before that, like in the 90s, you know, before he became president and all. And he even had a press conference. And when he had this press conference, and this was during the campaign, they arrested him. And they said it was an outstanding warrant. Sure it was. And then they said, well, we gave him a lie detector test and he failed, so he lied. And all the news outlets automatically said, nope, he's lying. Well, those news outlets are owned by puppets. I've talked about this before. They're controlled. They got an agenda, and that's their boy. And here's the thing, too. Whenever you criticized Obama for all the horrible things he did as president, you were called a racist. And I'd point out to people, I don't care what color he is. I care about what he's doing to my country. I care about forcing poor people to get health insurance, or they have to pay for it. Well, first off, the poor people can't afford the health insurance with his Obamacare or Affordable Care Act or whatever. They still have to pay for that. And if they don't get it, they get fined? What kind of Nazi socialist crap is that, fool? And don't forget, he promised us all free Wi-Fi. Remember that? Just like he promised all the black folks reparations. They're still waiting on those checks. And we never got no free Wi-Fi, did we? No, because they're corrupt career politicians that do nothing but lie. But when somebody else says something bad about them, they're the liar. Like Sinclair. And the media buried that real quick. Sinclair still swears by it. Now, there was a couple other people there. One was named Kevin DeWan. I remember him. The other guy, last name was Madsen or Madison. I can't remember. But they were commentators. They talked about stuff. And they alleged that Obama had various affairs. And they actually interviewed people, talked to people, went back in the Chicago area and stuff. And they picked up all these guys that said, yeah, me and Barry back in the day. They called him Sotero back then. And because that was his name. He's changed it a few times. And the funny thing is, the media's like, oh, they're lying. They're lying. Anybody can have a website. Yeah, just like CNN, you can have a website. You're not telling me the truth. The Guardian, Al Jazeera. Good Lord, there's people that'll quote Al Jazeera on us, man. Especially when it comes about stuff going on in the Middle East. Give me a freaking break, people. But the media downplayed it. Now, if this same stuff had come out about, let's say, George W. Bush, and it could be total lies, they would build it up. We'd still be hearing about it today. They would degrade him. They would do whatever they could because he's not on their side. He's not their puppet. This boy, Obama, is in their back pocket. They love him. And they tried to, I remember one time this lady, they were making fun of his ears, and he got all mad about that. And she told him, we're trying to toughen you up for the campaign trail. He's like, I've always been insecure about that. Well, I'm sorry, Dumbo. You know, come on, man. Now, a letter came out of the woodwork one time, and I believe it was 2023, just a few years ago, but it was 1982, you know, his college letter, probably from Columbia, where he didn't really do too well, but then somehow he got into Harvard. Don't have a good enough GPA, but you got into Harvard, boy? Come on, tell me you ain't no puppet that sold your soul or something. You working for somebody, man. Anyway, this letter came out, and it was publicized, but they, of course, downplayed it and stuff. And it was a letter he wrote in his handwriting. They proved that and everything. He was in his early 20s, and in the letter, he was talking about being gay, having androgynous thoughts, homosexual fantasies in his imagination. There was a lot in this letter. It's hard to find now. It's been downplayed pretty good. But it was basically, there was a lot of gay stuff in it, man. Look, I don't care if he's gay or not. I don't care. But if you are, just admit it. If Michelle's trans, just admit it. Don't hide it. Just be honest with us. That's why people don't like it. Because they think this, and they think he's lying. And if he is lying, well, you can't trust him then, can you? If you're going to lie about something like that, then what else do you lie about? Anyway, they took this letter and they said, oh, no. The media turned it all around. It's like, oh, no, it was philosophical musing. He was just wondering, you know, it was just not, it wasn't real. It didn't represent a same-sex relationship or anything. I mean, all kinds of people do that. Everybody does that. No, they don't. No, they don't. I don't care if you're black, gay, trans, whatever, man. I don't fantasize about it. You know, it's not my trip. If you're in love with a dude and you're a dude, cool. I got no problem with it. Good for you, man. I'm glad you found love. That's what matters the most. I hope he treats you well. But I'm not into that. So I don't write letters like that. You know, and I don't even write letters like talking about women. You know, I mean, even when I was a kid. So, I mean, it really makes you wonder. It's like a diary or something. But here's the kicker. His half-brother Malik came out. And he said, and he put it on social media, he put it out there to anybody that would interview him. He said his brother was gay. He talked about his brother's sexuality. And I mean, this is his half-brother, so I'm sure he knows about it. He grew up with the guy. And they try to downplay it. And they're like, well, he didn't give specifics. What do you want him to tell you? Every little thing. Yeah, one time he was over here and he got this guy over here in the elevator. And, you know, here's a picture. No. But he came out and he said, yeah, my brother's gay. My half brother's gay. Yeah. Michael is Michelle. Michelle is Michael, you know? And they said, well, those are hostile statements. He just put that on social media. He's just looking for attention because him and Barack do not get along. Well, they probably don't get along because Barack's kind of a butthead. Very arrogant person, man. But he told how it was. But they tried to downplay it because that's their guy. That's their boy. Just like they tried to downplay the fact that he was born in Africa. They found his African brother, who I just mentioned, Malik. His real name is, I can't say it right, but like Abango Roy Obama. That's his half brother. Now, here's the thing. He's from Nairobi. And old Barry was like trying to say, you know, I don't have any family, this, that, and the others. I remember he told everybody that his grandma was a typical white woman, which I thought was kind of racist. But his brother, when they found him, he was living in a hut in Africa. Your brother, your half-brother, is the president of the United States, and you're sleeping in a freaking hut on the ground in Africa? And he didn't have any good things to say about Barry. And the media tried to say, well, that's because he doesn't have anything, and Barry's not giving him anything. Well, it is your half-brother. I'd like to think that, you know, you might give him a rug to sleep on or a sleeping bag or maybe buy him a house. So certain media outlets went to him and they said, hey, man, we'll buy your story. And so when he started telling things about the corruption of him and some of the things he's done, about what Barack done, Barry, whatever you want to call him, and they said, well, he just got bought off, that's why. They had to move him and hide him because people were out to get him. Gee, I wonder who and why. Eventually, he came out of hiding, probably had some protection, ran for office in Kenya. And then Barry's got another brother, I forget his name, I think it was George. I think he's a younger half-brother, the youngest one. He's from Nairobi, and, you know, he doesn't have anything to do with his brother. He's busy helping people in Africa because they're all poor. And God bless him for that. I think that's great. And what's his brother doing? Living on the East Coast in this multi-million-dollar mansion. Remember when Al Gore said all the waters were going to flow up and everybody's going to drown and stuff? Yeah, what happened to that, old Gore? And they gave him a Nobel Prize for that. Give me a break. Well, it makes you wonder, why is Obama buy a house over there on the coast? Why is he out there with everybody else? They all do that, man. They don't care about Mother Earth. They don't care about me or you. All they care about is lying. They care about themselves. They're nothing but crooked, corrupt politicians. Now, do you remember a few years ago, Martha's Vineyard? There's a lot of rich people. You ever been to Martha's Vineyard? Shoot, man, you got to pay just to drive through there. You don't, but I'm surprised they don't do that now. I mean, we're talking multi-million-dollar homes and owned by a bunch of scumbag people who I don't care for, most of them, bunch of politicians. But you remember that guy, his chef, his name was Tafari Campbell, and he was on the pond in Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts, and this is what they say. He went missing while paddleboarding. This was 3 years ago, and his body was recovered the next day. And they made sure to point out that Barack and Michelle weren't there. They weren't there when he went. He was paddleboarding by himself. So let me get this straight. They invited him to the mansion. Said, here, go paddleboarding. We're not going to be here. Okay. And then he drowned in the water. It was only a few feet of water. It's at where he was about 3 feet. They found him in 8 feet. I'm sure he moved a little bit, you know, with the currents and everything. And they said right away that he was not a good swimmer. That was the problem. And everybody was like, the Obamas, right away. The Obamas had nothing to do with it. They weren't there. Oh, really? Well, why do you even have to say that? You know? Because we didn't think that until you say it. That tells me you're covering something up. And they found his body. And everybody was like, oh, he couldn't swim. Let me ask you guys something. If you can't swim, are you going to go paddleboarding at Martha's Vineyard? Are you going to go out there? Now, the pond is cut off from the sea, so the currents aren't so bad and everything. So, what? It's a pond. It's a big pond. He fell in the water and drowned. He couldn't swim. That's what they said. But lo and behold, we recovered a video of him in an Olympic-sized pool. And I will say this, the guy was in great shape, man. He had a lot of muscles. He was in really good shape. And in this Olympic-sized pool, 3 foot, 6 foot, 9 foot, 12 foot, he was swimming great. He knew all kinds of different strokes. He could do the backstroke. He could do, he could side swipe, He knew what he was doing. He was a great swimmer. Once we found that video and it got put out there, and they downplayed it. That's not him. That could be any black guy. Really? That's not racist at all, is it? It's almost like he could have come up and said, "Hi, I'm Tafari. I'm a great swimmer." And they still would have downplayed it. This is fake. And that's what they did. They said that wasn't him. That's not really him. And he couldn't swim at all. So let me ask you again. If you can't swim, are you going to go paddleboarding by yourself in a pond with nobody around? Are you? No. Are you even going to go with other people maybe? But are you going to go down to the beach and hang out and go swimming? No. No, you're not going to do that. And then, like the next day or two, you saw Obama on the golf course with his hands all taped up. Looked like he got in a big old fight. Looked like there was some violence involved. And, of course, the media, you know what they do. They played a puppet game just like 1984. They program you with lies. And what did they say? Oh, a lot of golfers do that. They do that, to help with the calluses on their hands and stuff. Like, you ever hear of gloves? What I speculated, along with a lot of other people, that this man swam really good, was invited out there, and he knew something they didn't want him to tell anybody. And perhaps this was a big speculation that he was having a gay relationship with Barack and was going to expose and tell on him. Or possibly he was going to expose Michelle for being the man that most people think she is. What do you guys think? I never believed none of their stories. And when the media comes out and covers something up so quick, makes you wonder. And they got an excuse for everything. I won't even say an excuse. It's a lie. Now, Barack Obama was one of the worst presidents this country ever had. I don't like him. I never liked him. And he goes out there and he's still running his mouth, trying to get people to vote his way and do his thing like he's some kind of great guy. He's got his presidential library. I look at that thing. That thing's horrible. That thing is ugly, man. You need ID to go in there. You have to have an ID, but you don't need an ID to vote. Now, Obama did a lot of bad things in this country when he did his so-called bailouts, and what happened? He let a foreign company take over one of the big three auto industries. Now, the other ones, GM said, nope, you're not selling us. Ford said, no way. I give them credit for that. But what that did is it helped out major institutions, major corporations, making them more money, and it undermined the creditors. You took advantage of things. And none of these people, none of these banking executives, none of them were jailed for the big financial crisis, which he caused. He didn't know what he was doing. He just did what his puppet masters told him to do. Remember when he had the Fast and Furious gun running operation in Mexico? And the next thing you know, all the criminals down there had guns? The guy that he put in charge of it should have been in prison. Instead, what do? They pay him extra money. Yeah, you're doing a great job. No. They were running illegal guns, and they're still out there. And nobody looks at that. They're like, well, they don't want to expose that stuff. He targeted the IRS. He had the IRS targeted, I should say. He had them going after certain people, mainly conservatives, anybody he didn't like, anybody that was against him. He had them going after him, auditing them and stuff. He did a lot of bad stuff, people. He was not good for this country. Told us he was going to cut the deficit in half. Instead, what'd he do to that? his first year in office. Now, mind you, he said he was going to cut it in half. First year in office, it was a historic record which has never been met. $1.41 trillion in the first year. That caused the Great Recession and lots of bailouts. These companies, a lot of them went out of business. Some of them got bailed out and they had to pay the government back with interest, which forced them to have to cut a lot of people out of their jobs. A lot of people lost jobs because of him. Not just rich people, hardworking people. Because who do they say? Okay, we're going to do some layoffs. They're not laying off the rich people. They're laying off the guy at the bottom. That hurt this country. Unemployment was sky high under him. And the blacks had the worst economy. Black folks had the worst economy ever under him. The highest unemployment ever. The highest record of people on welfare. It was awful. He was awful for this country. When he was elected his first term, the national deficit, the national debt, was $10.6 trillion. When he left and Trump took over, the debt was over $20 trillion, people. He doubled our debt in 8 years. But people talk about what a great president he was. No, he wasn't. He talked about he was going to end all the wars. Instead, he escalated them. He had more stuff going on. He tried to do this takeover in Egypt and Libya and countries like that. And so what happened is they went to the polls and elected basically terrorists. So now the terrorists run the country. People didn't like him. They say he was a Muslim. I believe he was, or he has Muslim connections. He could speak it very well, and he knew the verses right off the top of his head pretty good. You know, I know Christians that have been going to church for 50 years can't even talk about certain verses off the top of their head other than maybe John 3:16 or Genesis 1:1. So, and people say, well, you can't judge him by that. I can if you know what the agenda is for a lot of these groups, people. He didn't have a good agenda for the United States. And in my honest opinion, he was the beginning of the downfall of this great country of ours. It's never been this bad. He ruined our country, people. He was a horrible president and person. When he was in office causing the Great Recession, the unemployment rate for black folks in America was 17%. Now, that's just the ones that actually collect benefits. It was about 30%, if not higher, when you think of the ones that didn't get any unemployment because they were on it too long. He did not do good for the black community. He promised reparations. Where are they? They never got them. The poverty rate for black folks went up sky high. It was about 28%. Dropped off here and there, but it was still way high in the 20%. You know, it was like 27.2%, 25.8%. 27.2 again. It was in the 26s. The lowest was when he left. It was 22%. That's not good, people. That means that 1/5, actually a little more than that, of black folks in America live in poverty. It's not that rate right now. It's gone down quite a bit. Gee, I wonder how come. But what got him elected was the fact that they would put out there America's first black president. They would say that. And there were a lot of people that were out there saying he was the first gay president. Now, do you guys remember what Joan Rivers said? Somebody said something about the first gay president. And this guy, he knew what he was doing. He wanted to get her going. And Joan never held back. I love Joan. She was a character, but she told the truth. She said, we already have our first gay president. And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, oh, come on. Everybody knows it. They're like, Michelle Obama is trans. She's like, what do you mean? She's like, she's transgender. Everybody knows. And then she went and had a simple surgery done right after that. A couple days later, actually. And it was basic surgery, just like a check. Simple surgery, endoscopy. People get those every day, no big deal. She died. They said she had brain failure during it. Now, while she was laying there dying, the surgeon, took a selfie of himself with her with a big smile on his face. And you can't tell me that she wasn't murdered. Somebody got to her. Like I said, there's power out there. Her daughter, Melissa, sued. She sued big time. And she won. She won the malpractice suit. Doctor doesn't care. I'm sure he got paid off. I'm sure he got taken care of. Joan Rivers on a simple surgery. And people say, well, she was old, this, that, and the other. Joan was in great shape. I've seen people in their 80s and 90s go into the hospital for simpler stuff than this, or their harder stuff than this, and come out of it. An endoscopy is not a big deal, people. Basically, they're just running a tube down your body to check on some things. Probably we're checking on her breathing and stuff like that. So, don't know how that would be associated with brain failure. I've never believed that stuff, people. And people would tell me because I didn't like Barack Obama, and I'd say, look at gas prices were sky high. People complaining about $4 something for a gallon of gas now. What happened back then? I was paying about $4.50. Comes up in my Facebook memories how much I was paying because I was complaining back then. Everything went up. Inflation was sky high. He was a horrible president, people, but you couldn't criticize him because that would make you a racist. One time, people, we were talking about it, and this black girl was like, well, actually, she claimed to be every race under the sun but Jewish and white. But anytime someone would say something, she's like, I'm Native American, I'm Mexican, I'm this, I'm Italian. I don't know, man. I don't know what she was. She was all rolled into one. But we were talking, she's like, black girl right here. I'm like, we're not talking about him because he's black. We're talking about him because he sucks. I don't care what color a person is. If they suck, they suck. And I'm going to talk about it just like I'm talking right now. People. Then he had Joe Biden in there. For the 4 years Joe was in there. Now, you guys might not remember this, but he had a thing one time, and it's recorded. And he was talking about, like, they're like, whoa, what about you can't have another term? And he's like, oh, I'd like to think I could have a microphone in my ear and stuff and communicate with the guy and have another term. And that's exactly what he did with Joe Biden. Joe Biden was a freaking puppet. Joe Biden can't even spell puppet. Joe Biden's strings can't even be pulled because he's so out of it. These guys are horrible, man. Is Michelle Obama a woman? Probably. I just wish people would admit it, you know. But they try to downplay it, and they try to build her up. And here's the thing, too. Now, you can't criticize him for that. But then I see black people running for public office all the time that are conservative. And all the left hates them. And I try to turn it on him and say, well, you don't like him because he's black. That has nothing to do with it. I'm not a racist. No, you're not a racist. You live in a 99.9% white community. You know, you have no black Facebook friends. You only follow Obama on there, you know, just so you can say you're not a racist. And that's how they are, man. That's how the people on the left are. They're so out of it, man. And they're the most controlled people there are. But you couldn't say anything bad about Barry. But if Barry was a Republican, I guarantee all the truth would come out. They never would have stuck up for him. They never would have covered for him. They would have brought his brother over here and bought him a mansion from Nairobi. And he would have been like telling everything, and they would have believed it. And that's the problem with our country, people. It's too damn divided, and it needs to stop. Now, I don't ever want to see another Obama in there. And I just don't mean the name. I mean a president like that. I want people that care about us, that are going to run this country good, that are going to help everybody, that just don't run their mouths and talk a game. I want the real deal like me. I want that. People, I'm just trying to wake y'all up. The corruption, the lies, it's out there and it's horrible. And we need to stop it. And we can stop it. Election time's coming up again, people. Research the people you're voting for. Don't go party lines. That man destroyed this country, and people looked away. I don't want any more of that. I want our country to be strong. We got our 250th anniversary coming up. We've had some horrible presidents over the years. We've had a lot of horrible leaders. And my honest opinion is Barack Obama is the absolute worst. FDR's right after him. He got us in debt. He was horrible, too. He did a lot of bad stuff. I'd be on here for hours talking about all the crap he did. That man was horrible too. But we've had some horrible presidents. We don't need that anymore, people. So I want you all to wake up, all right? Research the people, not the party. The parties are what's wrong with this country now. Because the parties are putting the wrong people in charge. Remember that. Peace and love, everybody. I'll be coming at you again with some real deal truth again real soon, baby.